This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse.
This is really fun. You're like who knew that you would be like the mom of the century? That you would eventually play literally the role of the mom of the century.
Nobody knew.
Nobody. Exactly.
And my daughter included.
Okay, then let me reverse engineer because we were just talking about that you live in Vancouver now since you moved up there 2020.
2020.
Casting for Heated Rivalry, were they only seeing Canadian actors?
Largely, yes. Yes, they were. Most of the cast is Canadian and all of the crew. And Jacob.
We normally start in the beginning, but now that we're here, I want to know I want to know this casting process.
Yes, it was quick and painless. I got an offer. They called me and said, "Oh, what do you think of this? We've all 6 scripts have been sent to you. Peruse, let us know." I read all 6, had a conversation with Jacob, and that sealed the deal. And not because he had to convince me of anything. It was just about making sure we were on the same page, primarily because the last scene is that scene. So the last scene for my character. And he is just such a smart, witty, funny guy. So that was also a thumbs up for me, an easy yes, because if you're going to spend some time with somebody, you want to be able to make sure you're kind of same wavelength. Yeah. That was the process.
That's what, so
no audition story there. Sorry.
That's what Nick and I were just talking about on the phone. Nick Gonzalez, friend of pod. Everybody can go back and listen to his episode. But he was like, yeah, Christina was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do this show. And that's what I think is so riveting as an actor, whenever it's, okay, I'm going to go do this thing versus when we're like, oh, I'm going to go do a Christopher Nolan. This is going to be huge. And we set it up. So in reading the scripts, what was your thought? And was that pivotal moment in episode 5 and 6, was it written that way? Or did you guys get to have an improv? What kind of creative liberties did you have?
Okay, Nick is right. I did say I'm just gonna go quickly do this because it was quick. The whole
How did you guys shoot?
36 days. The whole thing was shot in 36 days in Toronto and surrounding areas. And when I read the script, yes, a lot of that is built into it. And the liberties we had were, for me anyway, and obviously I was on set a lot less than Hudson and Connor. So I think they probably had just more time to play around, not time, more material to play around with. And Jacob is not, he doesn't insist on things being exactly the way he sees it. And I think he talks about that in a podcast or interview that he did. But essentially, he knows what he wants, but he's so collaborative. And so if you're doing something in the take, he'll let you explore that, as obviously within the confines, the framework of his script. But it was very easy to do given the structure of it all anyway. I think the way that you wrote it was just made it so easy to do, and it was smart and it made sense. And it was an adaptation of these books. So there's also that. And I hadn't read the books.
I was just going to ask, did you read the books?
Yeah. No, I hadn't, because this came about relatively quickly for me. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to take a look at who Yuna is in the scripts. And just as well, too, because that scene at the end in episode 6, and then also there's, I can't remember which episode, but the elevator scene where I first come in contact with Ilya, those 2 things were written by Jacob. They were not in the books. So he does flesh out some of the characters a little bit more than what's in the book or books. Yeah.
So might be a difficult question, but I get a lot of actors ask me this. We go through peaks and valleys, right? Where it's, okay, I'm auditioning for this, or I'm relevant right now. You were coming off The Good Doctor, you get an offer, but then first day is like your audition or first conversation. Are you able to give like some insights on your conversation with Jacob? Because I think it's just a whole nother skill set as an actor to be like, okay, great, I just got this offer. How do I collaborate, or how do I get the information that I need to show up on day one and deliver what Jacob wants? Do you have any insights on the conversation? I know you said Jacob was really funny. Seems like an easy conversation to be like, yeah, sure, I'll go do this. But what are some of
Yeah, we just had a conversation about, he told me that was a scene that he had written. that it wasn't based on the book. So then I said, okay, so interesting. It was just a conversation about the book. So it wasn't, you're right. They'd already offered it to me. So that I feel as an actor, it depends on the actor, but I feel like once I know that I've got the job, even if it's day one on set, there can be nerves, but there's just a particular confidence there that what you either did in the audition, if you auditioned, or whatever it is that you have done that warranted the offer, that is already something I possess. There's something about me that they liked or that they want. And so I personally am a lot more at ease. So when I'm on the phone with him, it is a genuine conversation. Oh my gosh, so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And then we just started talking about, well, what did you think about this? And oh, why is she written this way? And it was really me interviewing him more.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it was me was saying, what's the vision and why? And I really liked what he had to say about, it's so clear now that we've seen all 6 episodes and the message is quite clear. When you've just first read something and you're still thinking about it from different angles, like your character versus the master story. And he said, I just want a really happy ending. I want them riding off into the sunset. I want a positive story that isn't laden with violence or trauma or pain, even though those things obviously exist and are reflected in many other people's true experiences. He was like, I want to highlight this story that Rachel wrote. And I said, great. And he said, and then we did talk about the role that the parents play in all of their lives. And I loved what he had to say about that, which is essentially in a young artist's life or a young athlete's life, the parents play a pivotal role. We're significant in making sure they make it to practice or rehearsal or games or performances. And so that sort of helped me. Oh, that's right. So Yuna has been involved, right? Like the way we're involved in our daughters' lives, or just, of course, she's been there from the beginning. So then that's how the conversation about the momager and building the balance of the mom and the momager.
That was my favorite part, that after we have this reveal, that then it's, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to, I can't wait to see what Jacob's going to conjure up for season 2. Have you seen
Same.
Yeah, same.
I have no idea.
We'll all be anxiously awaiting. Okay, so from a business standpoint too, and then we're going to go back to the beginning, or you can pull this into any part because you did a huge show like 24. So yeah. I don't think anybody teaches actors this. Once you have something that comes out and becomes a worldwide sensation, what's your inbox look like right now? Is it more offers? Are you being more discerning? What are you deciding that you want to do as of next? Does it actually have the heat that you're looking for as far as, oh, I'm going to make this big pivotal move over here? I talk about this all the time in the podcast, like relevancy versus development. And we go through these phases all the time. Matthew McConaughey went through that phase of development again when he was like, I don't want to do rom-coms anymore. And it took him like 2-3 years before he worked again, putting that in quotations. But this is a hot moment right now. This is a hot show.
Yeah.
Is your team doing anything? Are you doing anything? Or is it not as hot credibility-wise that we all think as audience members?
It's both, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, please.
I by the way, I didn't have an expectation that once this became what it did, when it's to the magnitude that it is, which none of us expected. I am not garnering anywhere near the opportunities and offers that Hudson and Connor are. And that's just, I think that's probably fair to say across the board for the rest of us. They've hit the stratosphere of I don't even know what. And I don't know what it is that even if I knew, I wouldn't say, but I'm just saying, so it is not it's not that to that degree. And yes, my team and I are having conversations about strategy. And okay, so what is the next thing that we want to do? How do we want to handle certain projects that come our way? Do we pass on that? Is this something you're interested in? And I have always said, and nothing has changed for me in terms of the way that I regard opportunity. I want them to send me everything that's come through, whether it's an audition or an offer. Send me everything, even if you're like, oh my gosh, I know for a fact she may not want to do this, or That kind of thing. And so nothing has shifted for me in terms of the way that I regard work and opportunity. And I think, yes, there's been a slight shift. I got an offer on something that I'm going to be filming next week, which is really nice. And it happens to be up here in Vancouver, which is also really nice.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that would have been offered to me if it's like a cameo. But who's
Right.
just, I don't know. Maybe that
I
would,
think that's the relevancy part, right? You're an
yeah,
incredible actress. You've been doing this for 25, almost 30 years. And
70,000 years.
and when the relevancy hits, it's okay, your name is at the top of the stack at this moment, and you grab things as they go. So then let's go back to the beginning. So I know
Okay.
you went to school, Kansas? You went to school in Kansas, but then finished in Washington?
So I did. I grew up in Taiwan. And so when I graduated high school, I went to the University of Kansas. And I ended up in Kansas because of my mother,
Mhm.
who was a native Kansan. And the idea was, let's go someplace where we can handle the tuition. And you are going to be in a state that like family friends live in so that you have a place to go for Thanksgiving, or if there's a problem with your car, some like an actual
Yeah.
adult can help you. And I think I'm a more mature adult. So that's how I ended up in Kansas. Yes. And then I was there for 4 years. And then I auditioned for graduate programs and I got into the University of Washington, the professional actor training program there. And I was there for 3 years, loved it.
And then why New York? Why do you decide to go to New
Yes.
York versus LA? So let's go back to the beginning of when you're purely in development. Did
Yes, I
school
was.
did
Oh.
school prepare you for auditioning? Like you go to New York and you check off all the major New York shows that we have to do if you live in New York as an actor. But I want to know that beginning
Yes.
auditioning period.
So I was only interested in doing theater. Was not had no interest in television or film at the time. I loved watching them, obviously, but I really wanted to do theater. And so that was actually part of my process in picking what grad program to go to. I had a couple other opportunities to go to schools that were more focused on television and film. I turned those down for Seattle. And New York was because Tina Landau had come to workshop Chuck Mee's The Trojan Women with us because she was going to do it on off Broadway in New York. And so she was using our class as her workshop. And that was like our thesis project as third years, was working with Tina and doing viewpoints, which is, I don't know if you know that. It's a particular type of theater method.
Explain it for the audience. Yeah.
It's similar to Suzuki method, which is the training that we had at University of Washington then. I don't think that's what they use now, but that was under Steve Pearson's tutelage. And I loved him. He was fantastic. But do you want me to explain Suzuki?
Yeah. Yeah. We've had it
It's
on here a
very
couple
rigorous
times.
physical training, right? And literally physically exhausting. And the idea being that while your body is working so hard, up here, your cool face and the top part of your body can't register that. So it's like what motor is happening underneath remains hidden potentially, while your exterior belies nothing, so to speak. Was this part of the philosophy there that you work really hard physically? And it was Tadashi Suzuki's created this, and it was part of his philosophy of, I'm probably going to get this wrong now. It's been 20 something years. It was very spiritually attached. Yeah, it was a spiritual, I'm sounding really
Practice. Nope, you got it.
yes, part of his practice. But I think that's like the high level of what Suzuki is. So it was
I
very
agree. I was going to
physical.
say it's more marrying to me like movement and text. So just a very shortened version of what you're
That is,
saying.
yes, that's the sound bite, is that Suzuki would marry movement and text together. Yes. And the training was physically rigorous and demanding. It was
Yeah,
really
it really
tiring,
gets you out of your head, I think,
which was great.
which is exactly,
Fantastic.
yes, taking that.
And it seemed so weird to people and to me too in the beginning. And it just clicked with me instinctually very quickly. So I took to that program relatively well and fast.
And then, so once she workshopped the play with all of you guys, did that invite you into the city and start working in off-Broadway? How
It
long
did.
before?
That is exactly how I got to New York, was Tina invited a couple of us to, once we graduated, to go to New York for the summer and be a part of that show. And we did some low flying trapeze stuff. So I went from being like the lead in the grad performance to being like part of the ensemble on off Broadway, which I didn't care. I was like, this is amazing.
Everything you want.
And so I did the like low flying trapeze portion of the show because we had done that in Seattle and she knew I knew what that was. And so she wanted to bring that to a particular number. And it was we did it in the Lower East Side and it was an on-site performance. So everyone had to travel to this like, trashy, it wasn't a park. It was like I don't even know what to call it. I guess it was
gathering area.
Park area. And you had to step over rusty gates and nails. I actually had to go get a tetanus shot in the middle of one of our rehearsals there because I had accidentally stepped on a rusty nail that was sticking up out of the ground in our rehearsal. It was really interesting. They were using too all the site-specific stuff and as part of our. Oh, those were the days.
What a day. And then, so how long before the resistance for television and film finally came knocking at the door? Because I feel like theater is the dream, television and film pay the bills. So how long?
Probably 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. And then what I ended up doing was I would do like commercials or I would audition for them.
When commercials used to actually make us money. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think I actually only ever got 2. I think I got 2 maybe commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2. One was for a dishwasher. Yeah. And one was for a makeup brand. That's all I remember.
So then, okay. I have specific auditions I want to ask about, but just because you have such a lengthy career, when I say that one audition, which one or which couple come to mind? I wanted to talk about early New York days or even later, but talk to me about some auditions where it starts to really transition for you.
I do have the one that made the difference, but I also, because we were talking about New York days, there was also a really unique audition process that I had that may not be very helpful to anybody, but when I started making the transition from, maybe I will do some television. I had been, through my commercial agency, had been asked to audition for something called the Lonely Planet series, which at the time the Discovery Channel was doing. And it was based off of the Lonely Planet books, which is for travelers off the beaten path. They're not interested in what all the tourists do. They want to do the interesting, unique, backpacky maybe type of experiences. And so that audition was really cool. It's the only time I've ever had an audition like that. And it was through my commercial agents to host one of these episodes.
Did they see one of your amazing commercials or they just were looking for somebody specific?
No, I auditioned anybody else. I think the commercial agency just said, okay, out of this group of people in this age range, who seems like the kind of person that could handle a little improv or a little bit more dialogue than some, or I would get the like infomercial things. And so
we had 2 pages of dialogue.
Yes. And because I'd come from theater, I was like, it's a monologue. I've got it.
Yep.
So I think they grabbed those of us that could do that to audition for this kind of thing. And so the initial audition was just pretending that I was standing in front of a blue screen and pretending that, over here, I'm looking at this and look at this guy, right? And then the second audition was to stand on a rotating stage and I'd be talking to the camera and then walk and again, act like I'm in a marketplace. But the part that was off-putting, they'd say, and they would say, here's a table of items, and we want you to pick 3 items from this table, and then talk about them. Pretend that you're in a market in some part of the world. And I don't know why I picked Egypt, but I was like, I'm in Egypt now, and I'm making things up all day long. I was like, oh, for sure, I'm not getting this. And then I made it to the 3rd round. And because I lived in New York, they said, we're going to send a producer and a cameraman to a neighborhood in New York, and they're going to film you for 30 minutes talking about the neighborhood, walking through the neighborhood, walking into a store or walking into the deli or the cafe or the whatever. So I picked Chinatown because I could speak some Mandarin and walked around with this guy and would talk to the butcher with the hanging ducks in the window or the live fish market, or just we walked around, went into the Chinese I don't know. I haven't thought about that audition in a really long time. So when you were like early New York days, I'm like,
Yeah.
and I got it. I got that. And I went on to host 3 episodes for them. And it was a fantastic experience.
Was everything on a screen, or did they actually send you to any of
No,
these?
they sent me. So I went to Greece for 3 weeks, and I did Greece. And then the second one, I believe, was southern Spain or southern France, one of the two. So I did Greece, then southern Spain, and the south of France.
This is okay. And
Okay.
does your commercial agent then go, oh, did it have a theatrical side? They were like, maybe we should, because this is hosting. It's totally different. Did they
Totally. No,
over
they did
to the
not. It was at the
theatrical
time.
side?
It was Cunningham Escott DePini. It was CED. And
Yeah.
they didn't have it. I don't know what it is now, but they didn't at the time. It was just a commercial agency. And at the time, they paid me a flat fee. They were like, you're making X amount for everything, no matter how. And I'm telling you, I would work like 19-hour days. It was like, and you're also signing, and if you die, it's not our fault.
Yeah.
All the things for a set fee, which at the time was so much money for me
I'm
because I was
sure.
working in the restaurant business as a 20-something-year-old. And so to go away for 3 weeks and make that amount seemed like a really great idea. And I think, and I've told a couple other people this part of the story, then they made me an offer to sign with them, like a contract exclusively. And that one was really hard for me because I was like, these one-offs are fantastic, but ultimately, I think this is that fork in the road. And I had to decide, do I want to be an actor or do I want to do this, which there's nothing wrong with hosting that show and knowing that I would then make more money and I would have steady income and a steady job for, I think they wanted me to sign like a 2 or 3 year contract. And I turned it down to
Good for you.
pursue acting, even though I had nothing on the horizon.
And nowadays,
time.
celebrities do hosting jobs. That's the thing now. You can be an actor, you can host, you can do commercials. But 20 years ago, they're like, pick a lane.
That's right.
You can't even do television and film. Pick a lane.
Well, exactly. And when all of that was so new to me, and I just knew that I didn't want to be pigeonholed at the time as a television host, because you're right, back then you couldn't do it all. And I know my friends, they told me, so I know, they thought I was bananas. They were like, oh my God, what I wouldn't do to get out of doing what I'm doing in my temp job or my, no, but I just feel like I'm going to never know if I don't.
So how long from saying no to this path, how long before you start booking television and film work or even a theater job? Because I always love hearing, like, I said no, and it was like 2 years later, 2 months later.
Yeah.
Yes,
it was 6 months later. And then that's that audition.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From scene study classes to audition classes,
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created the Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
to a working actor.
I want to hear that. And what was it for?
Yeah. So it was for a show called Deadline. It was a Dick Wolf show. And it was starring Oliver Platt and Bebe Neuwirth and Hope Davis and Lily Taylor and Tom Conti. So it was like a big, juicy cast, shot in New York, which is where I was living at the time. And I got this audition I had to work on one side of Manhattan, but of course the audition was all the way on the other side, and it was raining cats and dogs and it was freezing cold and all the things. And I said, okay, fine. And at that point with my agent, it was about like negotiating. Can I get in a little bit earlier so I'm not late to my restaurant job? And yes, fine. You're going to read for the part of, and I don't remember the name exactly, but it was like Feng. I think that might have actually been it, actually. The role of Feng. And I was like, the role of Feng? Does this person have to have an accent? No, but they're Asian. And so this is what they're seeing you for. Okay. So I go in and I'm prepared. I read. This is where my naivete came in handy. Because again, everyone has to remember this was like pre-internet anything. We didn't have iPhones. We couldn't just quickly look up like, what does Dick Wolf look like?
Yeah.
So it turns out it's Dick in the room.
Dick's in
right?
the room.
Yeah. So it's the casting. And I was told producers will be there. You don't know. You just know the word Dick Wolf.
Yep.
And if you remember also at that time, hardly anything was shooting in New York. Maybe Sex and the City had started. I'm not sure.
Yeah. There wasn't many series shooting in New York. That's for
It
sure.
was, yeah. I mean, it was maybe Law and Order. Law and
Yep.
Order was like the only thing, which is how I knew who Dick Wolf was. And so there were 2 or 3 men in the room that I could tell were the producers. And then there was casting. And I don't believe they introduced themselves, or if they did, it was after or something like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Okay, great. I'm reading for the role of blah, blah, blah. And I do it. Oh, hi, that's interesting. Where are you from? So we have a conversation and they're like, okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And then I'm like, all right, who knows how that went? And I put on the raincoat and I'm standing at the elevator bank and the casting director comes running out and she says, oh, Dick was just wondering. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that was Dick Wolf. If you could stay behind a little bit, they want you to read another role. And I'm thinking, I'm absolutely going to stay, but like, how do I I can't remember if we had a BlackBerry. And so I was like, duck, 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 like all the buttons I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late so I let the restaurant know I'm going to be late. I look over this role and here's where the theater part comes in handy, because cold reading, so to speak, came a little bit easier for me, probably with all like grad school stuff too. And
yes, hours and hours of preparation. Yes.
This is where like our lived experiences come in handy. Not that I was in 5 minutes, but relatively quickly. And the whole time, all I'm thinking is I don't want to be in too much trouble with work. But I did go in like maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes after. And they had me read it once and they said, thank you so much. Can you try it this way? Did it again. And they were like, thank you so much. Really great to meet you. And I thought, that felt pretty good. And I didn't feel like I'm going to get the job, but it felt like maybe I'll have a call back. I didn't know. And then I think it was the next day that I got the call that they wanted to test me. So that would be the first time that I ever tested for anything. And because Dick's offices and NBC and all of that were in LA, they were like, they're going to fly you out. Even though this film's in New York, they're going to fly you. So I did that. And that was also a very interesting experience. I had never tested for anything before. And of the women testing for that role, I think I was the newbie.
And this is back in the day where you're sitting in the room with a bunch of suits. But again, does that not play to your strength, Christina? As like, for me, the first time I tested, I had never been on stage. So you're basically on a stage, stadium seating, people watching you.
Yes, but also, yes, that is where that, and yes, you're right. Back in the day when we had to be in the same room as everybody. So you're sitting in the room with your competition, and there were, at this point, 2 other women. It was me and these 2 lovely women, and we were all so different and thankfully friendly. And I understand if people don't want to be. For me, that was really helpful because I was very nervous. It was my first time doing this. And that audition was a great learning curve for me as well, because to your point, it was a room, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think this was like early days. It was like everybody in the building. It was maybe 25 people. Yeah. And it was not in a theater. It was in a conference room. And so everybody was smashed into one end. And then we walked in like at the other end. And they'd removed the tables, but it was still, the idea was like it was an office/conference room. And then there's just that one chair that's on the stage facing all the 25 people cramped into that room. And funnily, Dick Wolf's face was now the friendly face in the room because he was the more familiar one. And Oliver was in the room. Oliver Platt was in the room. And I can't remember if I read with him or not, so unfortunately. but I do know that it went really badly. And I knew it. I knew from the get.
What made it bad?
It was so bad. Everything, I wasn't breathing and everything was really wooden. It was just like this. And I had lost my personality and everything that was relaxed about me that I had done. And I was just and I thought I screwed that up. I screwed it up. And I left the room. And then the other two girls go, and I'm saying to them, I messed that up. They're like, no, surely you did as, and they're probably on the inside like, yes. I said, I know I messed up. And they were like, no. And I'm like, no, I know I did. And it was horrible because I thought I'd never done this before. I didn't know if I could ask, can I go back in there and do it again? Love another shot at this. And then when they were finished, casting came out and said, can you all three please stay? They're having a conversation in that room. And I thought, oh, please let me have another opportunity to do this. Because most times they just come back and say, all right, you're all released or whatever. And thank goodness they came back and said, Christina, we'd like to see you one more time. And I thought, oh, thank God. And
what did you do in that moment of, okay, I get to redo this? What's the preparation mentally?
I didn't have a lot of time to think about it because they said, okay, you're up. And then when I walked out into the hallway, Dick Wolf and Oliver Platt were standing there and they said, hello, what happened to you? Where did you go? And I said, oh my gosh, I know I was horrible in there. And they said, okay, you didn't have to be that rude. Or, I don't know. I had some kind of comeback and they were like, that girl, that's who we want in there. Please just do that. And Oliver said to me, I hate it when people say this. And I can't believe I'm saying it, but I mean it. I just want you to go in there and have fun. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's horrible. And he goes, I know, good luck. Yeah. And he left and they went in there and there's just that moment, right? It's that space of time where you're by yourself and they're all waiting and you're like, this is the moment. You have an opportunity to get this back. And I was like, you've got this. That's all you needed was just this second opportunity. You've done the work up until here. You've made it all the way here. Just breathe.
Yeah.
The last thing I remember thinking was like, just breathe this time. And I open the door and I say, hi, everybody, and sat down and breathed and got the job. And I'm happy I got the job. And it was my very first series regular role. I was 29, which a lot of people thought was old to be getting work. Because most people a lot of my friends didn't go to university or they didn't go to grad school. And so they started at the age of 20 or younger. So I was older than everybody else when I started. And that one audition is the one that lifted me into being a working actor and making my living actor. Solely.
I'm scrolling back through because I'm getting the actual date of this. When is this?
2000 or 2001.
2001. And you started in 97, essentially, because I think it takes some time, but you cut that time down. Usually it takes 10 years, I feel like, for people to get up and running really as a working actor. You cut that in half, essentially.
Did I?
Yeah, 2001. Yeah. Because then my question, we have to jump to, and then you joined so many shows in the third season, in the fourth season, in the second season. For me, like another pivotal point would probably be 24. Getting on that show on season 3. Everybody knows what it is. It's a huge series at that time, huge series. What was that audition process? Because then the pressure of, okay, this is an exceptionally popular show.
I know. And you know what I did? I hadn't watched the show yet. So I binged it on maybe tapes or DVDs or something like that. I can't remember. And I remember being so excited by just how the concept of it was so new. And I didn't put the pressure on myself because at the time it was just to play that's a CDC doctor. And at the time I don't think she was meant to not literally live, but just be a character in the show for much more than 1 or 2 episodes. So that audition was not laden with anything other than, it'd be really cool if I could do an episode of this.
Yeah.
To be a part of this whole experience. And then I think that's the best way in when you do an audition and you do a guest star recur and then they go, oh, yes, I want you to stay longer.
Yeah, that's why when I coach other actors too, when it's just a one-off, you're like, how can I make this easier on the writers? They have to keep the story going. Where can we laden this with relationship so
Yeah.
they have more to work on? Was there anything for, clearly you continued on, but what was it in that first episode or two, or was there anything in the audition where you're like, let me make this more rooted in relationship so that they're like, oh, thank God. Come on, stay on with us a little bit.
I don't think it's so sad to say, I don't think I did anything I think part of the audition is who you are too, in the room or on set. And so I think that honestly had more to do with the staying on in a way, because I got along so well with everybody on set. And not to say other actors don't. Sometimes it doesn't matter, house on fire, get along and the character has to die, or there's just no more runway left. But in this particular case, it was like, let's just bring her back for this situation now, or to weigh in on something. And I got along with Kiefer really well, and all the other cast members and the directors and the crew, and that was one big family as well. I think they all really hung out all the time, and it really was a family. And so we're very welcoming, and we all just liked spending time together. So I think sometimes that has something to do with it.
I think that has so much to do with it. I always tell when you're a guest star, you're a guest in someone's house, don't stay in your trailer. Go be a good guest. Literally go be a good guest. So you can meet other people, you can see how things are going. And then you can watch like little threads start to pull at each other, and then you have a whole career that's laid in before you. Okay, The Good Doctor.
Right.
You join episode 6.
I
So
did.
you're still first season, you haven't seen anything. I want to hear this audition process, and if you will get a little bit more particular about process, other than reading the script. Like at this point, now we're like 20 years in when this audition probably comes around. How has your process changed? It's different being on set than auditioning. Every audition I know is different, but I'm really curious what you brought into this procedural, or what you brought into this audition, what you do other than reading the script.
The show hadn't aired yet, so I didn't know what I was getting into. And we were not provided a script. So the only thing I had were the sides. And obviously, outside of just memorizing my lines, of course, that's just the first step. I had actually been in an ER, and sorry, this character started as an ER, a trauma doctor in the ER. And I had been in the ER at that point with my mom. So I had already, again, it's like the lived experience thing. I had already had, unfortunately, hours of being able to observe how they are. And I will tell you that my takeaway, which is what I brought to the audition, was there is nothing, even though it's emergent, the scene and everything happening in the scene. My takeaway when watching them, when something was going on in the ER, which was just fascinating to me, nobody was like running around, like yelling and throwing like Band-Aids and gauze. Obviously, it was just very calm, some a little too clinical, just really cool and calm. And it's work and it's their business. So that is what I grounded her in the audition for Audrey. And to be honest with you, it was a really odd audition because it was medical.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask specifically about it. Yeah.
It is all medical. Sometimes they'll offset. We'd like to see you do the medical jargon, and we'd also like to see you do a scene with, say, a patient or a lover, or just
another doctor. Yeah.
And this one was just purely medical. So I remember thinking, how do I interject human connection? And so I tried that and was told to try a different way, to just be all business and be the thing that I was trying to avoid. Like I remember specifically at this time in my life wanting to get away from being super like professional and procedural, which is the kind of thing that I was already able to do in my sleep. And I was like, how do I infuse something more interesting into this, even if it doesn't call for it? And I did. I'm really glad that I gave it a whirl, even though it was shut down. But I thought, how do you at least person, and she can give me the note in person, and I can do it again the way maybe she thinks is right, or the way that the producers wanted it, and they were not in the room. It was just for casting. So I'm glad that I did that. And to that, I would say from here on out, I always now just throw like my concern out the window in an audition. I go, oh, just try the thing, right? Try the weird, what I think is weird, which may not be weird at all to anybody else, right? Anyway, it got shut down. And she said, just do it by the book, please, and paint by numbers. And I painted by numbers. And I didn't think she liked me very much, actually. And that was, I didn't think I would hear back. And
was that meant to go on for the 7 seasons that it did? Was that also supposed to be a recur or one-off?
it was just supposed to be a 3-episode arc.
So here's my crafty question, is that I love that in the audition, she was like, can you just do what's on the page? Give us nothing else. Once you got hired and you got the 3 episodes, since we know it turns into 7 seasons, essentially, did you start to bring did you bring what you initially thought of in the audition? She's nodding for those that are listening to the podcast, not watching.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm nodding. Yes, I did from day one. I just brought like her sassy, sarcastic. And also the first day of work for me was 6 episodes in for them, and she's meeting them for the first time, but she's their boss. And so that's always a tricky dynamic on set when
Yes.
you're, all these people know each other at 6 episodes in, and I'm literally the new guest star, but I have to act like I'm their boss. So how do I do that? I have to just be familiar with the set and act like this is my house that they're guests in. And so the way I countered feeling nervous was just making her kind of this bigger, hey, everybody, I'm here now. Let's do this. And I totally brought the thing that I wanted to do in the audition to the first. And I thought, again, back to full circle moment for a second, once you have the job, you have the confidence to play maybe even more. And I'd like to bring that more to my auditions, is that level of ease. I already have the job feeling, so why don't I just feel more free to play? It's the freedom to play that I really want to get better at in auditions.
I think that's the 2 different muscles, right? One where you're like, I can try this or I can try that. We're malleable as actors. That's our job, to be malleable. But then and in the audition room, it doesn't ever really work for that anymore, specifically now as self-tapes too, where you're like, okay, here's what I'm thinking, but we're not getting it adjusted in real time. Think about all the audition stories you just shared with me for her to be like, no, thank you. That's the gatekeeper. If The Good Doctor would have been a self-tape, and
I might not have gotten that. That's right.
You might not have gotten it, but then what keeps you on the show is your initial impression and idea for this character. That to me is what's a little challenging with our jobs right now, is marrying that idea versus being able to be adjusted into what that puzzle piece is. Because I hate to say it's not rejection. It's just these casting directors thinking about, here's the whole puzzle and this is what I'm thinking that the producers, the director, the showrunner want. And so how many people are getting pushed to the side when they could be adjusted into this puzzle piece very easily? And that's where I think the relevancy and the development stage sits sometimes for people, is you have these brilliant actors that are getting bypassed because they didn't get this one idea, or they threw out this. And that's a touch point right now that I think is a little challenging, to not take it personal. And then I can't tell you how many times, 500 episodes, where people are like, yeah, I got the job and the casting director told me not to do the accent or not to do this. And then I got on set and was like, fuck it. And I threw it out there, and then that earns them the award. That earns them the position to stay longer.
That's right. And you're right. It has not, and I'm not throwing shade on that casting director at all. She just, I think, was like, let's rein that in. Let's just do this by the book, because she's a doctor and this is what they've been
She's the boss.
That's right. And
she didn't know it would go on. The casting directors aren't privy to all of this information.
No,
at
all. No, they're doing their job the best they can. And to your point, it's really hard to know what to trust. I think that's the thing that I'm always thinking about and adjusting and recalibrating is, okay, Christina, do I trust me, and I really think this character would do it this way, regardless of the note that comes with the breakdown on the audition,
That part.
right?
Yeah.
Like, especially with self-tape, when that's the note, and I should do it wearing green, for example, but I really think she'd wear pink. Terrible example.
No, but
I'm
it's
gonna wear
true.
pink. Am I coloring outside of the lines? Is that going to get me barred from being seen by the producer? Or is that going to be like, oh my God, that's really interesting. Let's let that one through.
So I think that's the thing that's a challenging thing. A brilliant showrunner said to me the other day, they reviewed a tape that two takes of a audition that I did, and they said, take one is an awesome guest star audition. Take two is series regular. And
Okay.
I was like, wow, I wish more actors.
What do you think was it? I would love to know.
I think it's really similar to the story that you just shared. The guest star audition was exactly what's on the page, right? This is going to be a one-off. It's transactional. It's here to help service the storyline of the series regular. Take two was, oh, I need to see more of this character. There's more relationship. I want to write for this character. And I was like, I gave.
What did you do differently? Was it that did you spend?
I think for me, take two was a little bit more, I hate this word, but it was more grounded, more rooted in the story, and not so much the archetype of what that guest star was meant to be. And it opened a whole conversation.
Yeah,
for
that's
us.
fascinating.
She was like, wow, it's so interesting to be able to see this. She used to be an actor as well. So actor turned writer turned showrunner. So she can also be able to see it and be like, that's the one I want to write for. That's the one I want to see for 3 more seasons. Take one is great, but I don't need to see that character more than one episode. It serves its purpose.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, how do we bring this in then to every audition? But then take two could take you out of the running for if it's just a one-off. But
because then they don't want you to overshadow anybody there or.
Yep. But especially I think as women, we could talk about this. I don't gravitate to the archetypes or the one-offs or the servicing. I want a more three-dimensional character. I want your mom from Heated Rivalry because now I want to see more of her. I hope in season 2 we see more of her. There's so much more to grab onto that's just not this transactional character where it's, oh, okay, that was a great mom moment. No, that's why I think Heated Rivalry hit on so many levels. To me, it's a love story. And
it is a love story, 100%, all the way around.
All the way around a love story. And I think to me, it's that challenge between ambition and self-preservation. And like what we're willing to do. And so there's great stories like this that when put into great hands, so much more percolates under the surface, which is why
Agreed.
As an audience member, I'm going to ask you a difficult question.
There you go.
The Good Doctor, it ends up being yours. You can do whatever you want with it. Not whatever you want with it, but when you become a series regular, the directors that are coming in, they're guesting in your zone. You're getting to really create this. But a lot of actors can get to this place of being like, great, I got the series regular job. Season 1's great. Season 2's great. Season 3, starting to get a little itchy creatively. How did you keep yourself creatively sound? And what did you learn maintaining a character for that long that then you did take into your auditions for other stuff? A couple questions there.
Yeah, so I'll start with the second one first. I think when I had done like Colorado Shakespeare Festival run like that, where you're playing the same character for months, nothing like a Broadway run, obviously, but that was the closest thing I'd ever experienced, that was close to a really long running thing. Those were really interesting too. So at an early age with theater, again, I had the opportunity to play the same person night after night, but find something delicious about her each night, saying the same things, different, obviously, to playing the same character with different, but very similar. My circumstances were relatively similar for Audrey. She's the same workplace, she's the same coworkers, same person for years. And I think the muscle was there already, the just drawing on the muscle memory of, oh yeah, okay. So on days where it felt a little bit challenging, I would say, okay, just remember what's the thing today And to keep me present as an actor, not just as like Audrey, but just as an actor. What's the thing I'm going to notice this time in this scene? Just all the things that you do in a room with other people. So that's the answer to number two, was just constantly remind. And also, you're always grateful to have a job. That bad joke of, if you ever want to see an actor complain, give them a job.
It's so true though. Yeah, and you see a lot of people do it and you're like, oh, you forgot what it's like.
That's right.
Yeah.
And any version of complaining that came out of my mouth, honestly, came from me wanting to contribute to story more or to my character. Wouldn't be I was constantly coming up with ideas. And I love David Shore, but he was like, no, thank you. You don't need to pitch me. And I thought, well, no, okay, fair. But so that's what was the first question specifically?
No, that was exactly it. It was just not becoming complacent. Even I love hearing that you were like pitching ideas. I do think that keeps our wheels turning of, oh, what about this? Oh, what about this? You can get, like you said, give an actor a job. And a few years in, you're like, oh, shoot, I want to do something else now. You've been really lucky, Christina, to go from The Good Doctor then to Heated Rivalry. We don't get to pigeonhole you as Audrey.
I don't think it's very smart of me to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to tell you, though, that it was almost a year and a half between the shows.
I was going to ask. That was
so
my next
you're
question.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm trying to hide. Anyone could look on IMDb and see the time between the two. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't 5 years either, but it was a year and a half of me auditioning and auditioning and auditioning and auditioning.
Yes.
And going, where is the next? Not Good Doctor, but just like, where's the next thing?
Yeah. What is to be the next thing? What do you do mental wise in that space?
There's some gymnastics going on in there.
Yeah.
Parenting kept me busy, getting involved with her school and just living my life outside of the acting world and picking up a new skill, things like that, of course. But then when you're in the quiet of it all and all the other stuff goes away, it's about, I guess it's meditation, and that comes in all different forms. I've practiced meditation as well, but also just in the quiet when you're listening to your head say, what's the problem?
Is that this is it? Okay, this is it. No, it's not it. I'm going to work again. Oh, okay, this is my audition. I focus here for a little bit. Oh, I didn't get it. Like it is mental gymnastics.
It is I was just doing a lot of gymnastics. There was never a moment where I thought, you're done or this is the end. But I also was interested in exploring, and I'm still interested in exploring. I don't know if I would get like a degree in something else, but go back to school for something completely different.
Yeah.
That's not off the table either. But yeah, I mean, I just had to fill my time mentally and physically with stuff.
And it primes you. Like a friend called the other day and was like, I didn't get it again. And I was like, ooh, how exciting. She was like, fuck you. I was like, no, I feel like it builds a karma because you just don't know what show or what role or what theater project's going to come. And if that project wasn't yours, it's clearing the space for something. And Nick, I was just talking to Nick too. And he's like, it's been a year and a half. And I'm like, great. Can't wait to see what's going to come down the pipeline. He's like,
that's exactly right. And I keep thinking for my friends, I'm like, you're due, man. It's coming. It's going to be exciting. And I can't wait to see what this exciting thing is going to be. And of course, we didn't know what was going to happen with Heated Rivalry. I honestly thought it was going to be a good show that would hit in Canada. Like it would be a hit here because only Canadians were going to be able to see it. But I thought, you know what, that's going to be that's great. And I really authentically enjoyed my experience. My 9 days on set were authentically joyous. And I thought, you know what, this is great. I've made new friends. No matter what happened to it, that will always be the story that I tell because that's true. And it just happens that it then took off to what it was. But the time between was a year and a half.
Worth it because now it puts you in a different, like you're in this relevant zone. I also relate it to surfing. You have a wave right now. You're on a great wave. It's going to come to shore again. But now you just know the wave's going to come again. We just never know how big they are.
That's
what
right.
a beautiful wave to be a part of. Beautiful work. I can't wait for season 2. Your lovely partner is coming up on the show in 2 days. So Let me know. Do you have a question for Mr. Dylan Walsh?
Oh my goodness. Do I have a question for him?
Yes. Process, business, anything that we can put publicly out there because I'm going to put it right on mic.
Ooh. I was going to try to be funny with Heated Rivalry, but I can't think of anything. Like, how was filming? How was it for you to watch the secret lovers kiss?
Okay.
Because I don't think we've talked about that. And so
When he rolls up on the secret.
Christina wanted to know what that was like, and did you have any idea what a mic drop moment that would be?
For everybody.
Everyone around the world that's watched that has gone, oh no.
Okay, so then final question of you guys actually doing episode 6 when you guys are sitting at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Did you guys shoot that over a couple of days, the kitchen table itself, or that was all one day coverage, everybody in there? Because your guys' chemistry, you and Dylan's chemistry, it was just so beautiful. Hudson's chemistry was so great. But that specific, shooting that scene alone, were you guys working multiple cameras?
2 cameras in one day.
2 cameras one day. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Where can everybody follow along with you, Christina? Are you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram.
Great.
I think it's at the Christina Chang _, or it's Chong, but I say Chang because then they know how to spell it. So it's at _ the Christina Chang or at the Christina Chang _. Horrible, I don't know which one.
But it's Chong.
It's Chong, but it's spelled with an A.
Yes.
Just to make life a little more interesting.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to meet you.
It's so lovely to meet you.